Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, my name is Cindy, and today I'm going to talk about the Belt and Road Scholarship and my journey of applying for the Belt and Road Scholarship and how I was being selected as the Belt and Road Scholar. And so just a disclaimer, I am not a Belt and Road Scholar now. So the Belt and Road Scholarship is only for students who are studying in Hong Kong or China. I was selected to become a Belt and Road Scholar, but I did not choose to go to the university in Hong Kong where I got my Belt and Road Scholarship. So I am currently not a Belt and Road Scholar, but I did go through the application and I was selected to be one of the 10, I think, Belt and Road Scholar from Malaysia. I want to put this disclaimer out there, so I can only talk about the application process, so I don't know how it's like after you're being selected as a Belt and Road Scholar. So if you're wondering, I currently study life sciences at the National University of Singapore, so I don't study in Hong Kong right now. So yeah, with that disclaimer out there, let's get into the video, because this is a question I get a lot on, like, how do you secure scholarships if you want to go to universities in Hong Kong, and Belt and Road Scholarship is one of the major scholarship for the Southeast Asian students. First, let's talk about what is the Belt and Road Scholarship. So I just have an internet definition. It is the scholarship that's established with the view of attracting more outstanding students from countries and regions along the Belt and Road to pursue full-time publicly funded university studies in Hong Kong. And it says all awardees would receive a scholarship to cover their tuition fees. So on top of covering tuition fees, it might cover other things as well, and I'll get into that later on when I talk about the Belt and Road Scholarship that was offered to me. So like I said, you can only apply for the Belt and Road Scholarship if you're from one of the eligible countries. For the eligible countries, you can simply just search online, or I have a link in the description box from the HKU website. It should apply to other universities as well, but it's better to double check with your university. So yeah, that's essentially it to know if you're eligible. Okay, so now let's talk about how I was being offered the Belt and Road Scholarship. I was awarded the Belt and Road Scholarship under the Chinese University of Hong Kong. So before I got the Belt and Road Scholarship from CUHK, I was first awarded the Admission Scholarship. The Admission Scholarship covers a full tuition fee and only full tuition fee. So there's no living allowance, no relocation allowance and things like that. So that one only covers tuition fees. And then after I accepted the CUHK admission scholarship sometime in January, I then received an email on February 20th that I was being shortlisted by CUHK for the Belt and Road Scholarship. So that's when they tell me that, okay, we looked at your writing and stuff, and we want to nominate you for the Belt and Road Scholarship. And from there, I had to submit some other things to CUHK to continue with the application. Here's the email that I received. Essentially, they just tell me that, okay, you're being shortlisted, just tell us by a specific time if you want to continue with this application. So I was given 6 days to decide. At that time, it was a pretty easy decision, because since you are being shortlisted, why not? Yeah, and there's no additional fee associated with applying to Belt and Road Scholarship, so I just applied to give it a try. From here, I then called with one of the admissions officers from CUHK to go through the details and how this works and things like that. And so to proceed with the application, essentially what I need to do is I need to fill in a form where I write my personal information, like application number, full name, birthdays, and major and stuff like that. So it's just a form you have to fill in. And on top of that, which is the main part, here it says it's called section B, is that I had to write a write-up, and this was a separate thing from your admissions personal statement. For your admissions personal statement, it is being submitted to the faculties alone. Only they will look at it and decide if they want to admit you or give you an interview and something. But this write-up is an entirely separate thing, and they have quite specific requirements on what you need to write on, which is different to the admissions personal statement, where they just give you a very general prompt and you can write anything you want. So I'll put the prompt for the write-up up here, because I'm sure this is what a lot of you guys want to know. Yeah, so essentially, you can see, they give you at least 6 points that you have to write about, and then you can write more than that, but I wasn't able to include a lot of other things because it's only a one-page write-up. After I wrote the write-up, I actually sent it to the admissions officer, because there's one admission officer that is responsible for essentially liaising and communicating with me, and she actually provided me some feedback on it, and that was very nice. Even though I don't go to CUHK now, but if there's one thing I remember about CUHK, it will be definitely how nice and considerate the admissions officers are. When I always email them, they always write a very thought out like reply for me, and they're always there to support their students. Yeah, so even though I don't go there, I had such a great experience with them in the application process. So on top of that write-up that I submitted, they also asked for additional documents to support the extracurriculars that I mentioned in my write-up. So the admission officer actually provided me a list of like, oh, can you provide us by email with the following documents like that I mentioned in my write-up. I believe these are probably things that the admission officer identified to be more important, that it will be better to have official documents to support, and not all of them had official documents. So the BMAT and the MYP definitely had formal documents because those were like exam results, but for TASL and MUN, those were more extracurricular. So instead of providing documents, I provided them like email to my supervisors and stuff, and I also submitted some photos. So yeah, it depends on like what the admission officer like wants from you. And because I never directly communicated with, like, for example, people from this Belt and Road Scholarship, it was always through the admissions officer, so I just basically follow her instructions. Yeah, so in terms of the application process, that is basically it. And the next step is just to wait for the application outcome. As you wait, you have to deal with all the other stuff, like for example, your visa application. Just make sure you always like check your email every day and look out for like information, because sometimes like also check the junk mail, because like there were so many times where like important emails went into the junk mail, and it can be very detrimental if you miss the deadlines to certain important things. And lastly, I received the outcome of my application on July 13th. For the HKSAR Government Belt and Road Scholarship Malaysia, you will get 145,000 Hong Kong dollars per academic year, and that's for covering your tuition fee. I guess that's my tuition fee for like the biomedical sciences program, but if you're doing a different program, it might be different. For this part, I don't know if it will be the same for everyone. And on top of covering the full tuition fee, you will get 45,000 Hong Kong dollars of living allowance per year. And so I'll put it on the screen so you guys can look at it more visually. Furthermore, if you're a non-local student like me, as an international student, you get a one-off 15,000 Hong Kong dollars relocation subsidy. That's trying to cover the cost of you moving from your home country or anywhere else to Hong Kong, basically. All these awards that you get from the Belt and Road Scholarship, it is renewable based on your academic grades. So here it says if your GPA is at least 3.0 or above in the preceding academic year, then this scholarship is automatically renewed. If you get the scholarship, there are probably some responsibilities that come along with that. So for instance, you might need to be like an ambassador for that school or something. I'm sure there are external like responsibilities that come along with it, but this is not something that I have a say in. Like, I cannot give you guys like information on that because I never got to that stage. And right, and something I forgot to mention is that if you do accept the Belt and Road Scholarship, you have to basically give up your admission scholarship. Okay, so that's the essential timeline of how I applied. I want to talk about some important things like in this separate section. What I found very strange is that when I asked the admission officers about the requirements to get the Belt and Road Scholarship, for example, like getting at least 41 points in the IB, because that's essentially the conditions I got for the admission scholarship, so I thought I would expect something similar for the Belt and Road Scholarship. But she said like she doesn't have the conditions because they will only decide after they see your actual results. So as you can see, I got my application on July 13th, right? I got my actual IB results on July 6th, I believe. It happens after results come out, so you don't have to worry about the conditions, essentially. But what she told me was that the conditions is slightly lower than the admission scholarship, which I find kind of weird because the things that you get from the Belt and Road Scholarship is actually better compared to the admission scholarship. So that's why in terms of the conditions you have to meet to get the Belt and Road Scholarship, I don't have a clear-cut answer because as you can see, the process is very like blurry, like the part where they actually select you. But I would say you definitely need good grades. So if you're doing IB, probably 41 or above, because that's the requirement for me for the admission scholarship, and my actual IB grades were 44. I don't know any other people who are also in a way competing for the scholarship, so I don't know how much they put weight in terms of like grades and extracurriculars. As you can see from their prompt, they do value a lot on extracurriculars. So if you're you're only like a junior right now, or you're even like a sophomore going into IB and you're already looking for scholarship stuff, your extracurriculars are pretty important, especially for, in this case, for Belt and Road Scholarship. So different universities have the requirements, but I would say when it comes to scholarship, because most people who apply for scholarships have very good grades already, so I think what would make you stand out is your extracurriculars. And yeah, so throughout this process, there's no interview. I think it is based on my admissions interview that the admissions officer decide if they want me to nominate me. So it's the university themselves decide if they want to nominate you. For example, I applied for the Belt and Road Scholarship under CUHK, right? But if I did it in HKU, I might not get it, for example. So whether or not you're shortlisted depends on the university that you are in, like, to apply the Belt and Road Scholarship. So my experience here is solely like what I experienced from CUHK, and for HKU I never got to the point where I applied for a Belt and Road Scholarship because by that time I already didn't accept their offer. So yeah, another thing important to note is that the people who look at your Belt and Road write-up will not have access to your CUHK personal statement. They also won't know how you did in your interview. Because I kept communicating with the admissions officer, right? You have this illusion that like they already know everything about you, but they are only like a bridge between you and the person who's deciding whether or not you get the Belt and Road Scholarship. So make sure stuff you already mentioned in your personal statement or your interview, you have to say it again. Because the person who's reading the write-up is a whole entirely like new person that knows nothing about you. The most important part of this application would be your write-up. So that's the place where you need to invest your energy in, basically. So the way I structured my write-up was that I have one paragraph to address each point. So there are 6 points in total, so therefore I had 6 paragraphs. For me, when I write academic like personal statements and stuff, I'm always very like, I try to address the point directly. So I'm not very good at writing, so I don't have that like very creative like storytelling type of writing style. So I just get straight to the point most of the time, and I guess it worked. So yeah, a tip here is that you can change the margins of like the Word document and then change the text size to fit more stuff in. So yeah, I won't be showing my write-up here because it contains a lot of information about my life and I don't really feel comfortable sharing that. But if you guys have questions about it, I would definitely answer the questions. So just leave it in the comment section. I hope you guys can learn something from like my process of applying. Perhaps this at least give you a very good overview of like what the entire process is like and the dates that you're supposed to be expecting. So yeah, if you're applying to universities this year, I wish you all the best in securing an offer and even securing a scholarship. So if you found this video helpful, please leave me a like and leave me any comments you want and any questions you have. So yeah, if you stuck out this long throughout this video, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.